What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. We have an amazing episode for everyone today. In today's video, we're going to be talking about what's going on with AMC and just what's going on in the market overall. I know we're seeing a lot of mixed signals. We're seeing value stocks. Like if we just look at the DIA ETF, it's really selling off. And then when we look at certain tech stocks and even the QQQ, a lot of them are popping up. So we're just seeing a lot of mixed signals in the market. So we're going to go over the best plays for this week. And at the end of today's video, we have a $14.6 million trade that expires this Friday. So make sure you guys stick around for that. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe as we post brand new videos every single day. But Tom, what's going on with AMC?
Yeah, all these growth stocks are looking very good, honestly, and AMC is just leading the way right now. I loved how on Friday they popped up to around $65 a share, really broke out above 60, but they did kind of fall back down and fall below that level. But honestly, AMC is so volatile that it just moves up and down quite a bit. So keep looking for it to have more momentum this week, but man, it's still hovering around $60. It's been around there for a couple of weeks now, and we've been kind of like waiting for a solid breakout, and it seemed like we finally saw that on Friday, but it pulled right back, ended up falling right below at the end of the day. But overall, AMC is starting to look like it has a lot of momentum, and it's starting to pick up, a lot of chatters like on Wall Street Bets again and everything like that. So hopefully we start to see more of a move back up. And whenever we look at like the daily chart, it doesn't necessarily look bad. I would have kind of expected it to have already kind of went down if it was going to start to, tank off or start to fall off. And it's really been holding its ground very well the past couple of weeks. And I really like that. Most of the time, like I said, we would have seen that kind of crash and burn, but it seems like that there's a lot of buyers staying into this and that the stock is really just holding its ground all the way up here around $60. And next week I think is going to be very pivotal. Like this whole week, we just sat here right around the $60 level. And whenever we start to go into next week, I think that it's going to be a very big thing if we could start to actually break out above this and possibly get back up to like 70 a share or something like that and actually hold its ground above 60. I think that would be awesome.
For sure. So like when we look at a lot of the hype stocks like AMC or GameStop or BB or, whatever from back in January, especially GameStop, that thing shot up and it came right back down. But AMC, like it's holding its ground for a couple weeks now. And I think that's a great sign. And it shows that, the people who are behind this stock, they're holding their ground. They're not going down without a fight, and I think that's a good sign. And eventually, shorts will have to cover. I know the reported short float is around 14%, but we have some people saying, it's a lot higher than that. Let us know in the comments down below what you think. One is going on with AMC, but then two, give me your price target for AMC in the comments down below. I'm very curious to hear that. But yeah, it's definitely holding its ground. And I want to say on Thursday, some institution or large trader put around $10 million into some AMC call options, the 60 strike calls for January 21st of 2022. And if they bought those calls, that is giving AMC a price target of $90 a share minimum by January 21st. And that's, again, if they bought those calls. But either way, I think it's awesome to see how it's holding its ground. And it's definitely to be on my radar for this week. But either way, guys, just please be careful with the stock. Never risk more than you're willing to lose. And just please be careful because IV is pretty high and the options are pretty expensive. But Tom, what else is going on in the market right now?
Yeah, we have a lot of other good setups as well as AMC. We have Zoom here on the 15-minute chart starting to look really good, even on the daily, starting to really start to break up, which is looking nice. Palantir, PLTR, kind of moved up on Friday as well. It ended up posting a red day, but it had a pretty good run earlier in the morning. And, we even seeing some charging stocks like RUN, Sunrun, starting to really get a lot of momentum to it. I've been liking this stock off of these lows for a while. This one's been nice. Tesla's even starting to move up a little bit as well. So seems like these tech stocks are just having a lot of strength, heading into next week. And even stocks like Apple, they were having a pretty decent week last week as well. On Friday they sold off a little bit with the overall market and the SPY, but it was overall nice to see these like more growth stocks like Zoom, Palantir, RUN it was nice to see them continue up. And even like AMC, it was nice to see them hold their ground. So hopefully for next week, this can kind of just like lay the groundwork for like a continued breakout for these stocks, because if not, it's just going to be a little bit of a pullback, I think, especially with the overall market coming down. But it seems like that they're all still at those like prime breakout levels. And I think we still have a chance, even though we saw a little bit of a downwards move on Friday, but we'll have to see how it ends up playing out. But they're definitely at critical levels right now.
For sure. And then let's talk about Tesla. I know that like this was probably one of the most popular stocks from last year, and they've been pulling back a lot year to date so far, but I think that they do have potential to pop back up. I'm not saying that they're going to hit $900 by next week, but I do think that it has potential to pop back up. It is making higher lows, and just looking at the momentum on this thing, especially intraday, and with the Nasdaq being at record highs and Tesla's still like a good amount behind, I do think there's potential. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. And there's a pretty big resistance here around 630 where it hit last time and went down. So we're actually heading right up to that. And I think we might start to see a breakout. Like, I think Tesla has been a great stock. And as we're going forward into the end of this year, we're going to start to see a lot of stuff coming out, like with their trucks and everything like that. And I think it's just going to help them. And I would think that buyers would be buying it up, before some of these events ended up coming out. And I think it's honestly just a smart time. So overall, I love Tesla. I love it off these supports as well. And, it was looking pretty bad like a few weeks ago. It was coming down pretty hard off of some trend lines and, just some weird news like with Michael Burry and stuff like that. But honestly, that was like a few months ago. So we're going to have to see how it can start to move, going forward. And I know that, that the truck is definitely going to help them later on in the year and everything like that. But on like an intraday level on Friday, they ended up having a pretty nice move to the upside up to around like 628.35. And I would say if they could break that and then head up to 630 and possibly break that, then we'll start to see honestly a pretty big move, I think, out of Tesla next week. And they're still a pretty good company, even though they're down quite a bit. Like, they're still going to be great for the longer term. So it just depends on how much they can keep going down. But honestly, the setup is starting to look like they're turning it around pretty well.
Sounds good. Well, let's get right into our Discord member of the day and then the momentum plays. So today's member of the day is Outlaw Star. Huge shout out, Outlaw. Thank you so much for always commenting on the YouTube videos, but asking great questions, and then also just being super positive, especially on YouTube. Thank you so much for everything, and thanks for being a great member overall. But now let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. And Tom, Tesla's the
Yep. And
first
with
one.
Tesla, go ahead and make it break above that high of Friday at 628.35. And then watch out for resistance around like 630 to 632.
All right. And then with the next one, we have
SMH. Go
SMH.
ahead and make this one actually fall down. Keep in mind, this is a semiconductor ETF, but make them fall down below 245. Let's just say 245.70.
All right. And then with the last one, we have
Facebook. Yeah,
Facebook.
this one was doing pretty good last week, but make them fall below the 230. I meant 328 support. That's going to be a really, really big level for it. So right at 328.
Sounds good. So we are eyeing Tesla for a potential day trade to the upside only if it breaks above the level Tom listed. And we are watching SMH and Facebook for potential day trades to the downside only if they break below the levels Tom listed. And like Tom, I'm a huge fan of Nvidia, ticker symbol NVDA, but they do look a little bit overextended to me, especially on this daily chart. I know that they do have that split news. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of this company, but if I'm just being completely honest, I do think it's a little bit overextended, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see this one pull
Yeah, I
back
wouldn't
a
be
bit.
surprised either. And whenever we're looking at NVDA going forward, it's went up so much the past couple of days. Like, it pretty much shot up from just like last week from 700 almost up to like 775, almost hit 800. Honestly, if the momentum could have continued a little bit, I think if the overall market was green, I think Nvidia might have touched 800. But honestly, the market pulled back pretty hard, and I think that might show that like if the SPY starts to pull back, the NVDA might start to pull back pretty hard as well. And even like with the QQQ, they might even start to pull back. So we'll have to see how it ends up playing out. But I'm with you. I think it looks like it could definitely pull back. It is overextended. And I love this setup. I love the stock. And everyone, they love it heading into this split. So and keep in mind the split's on July 20th. That's about a whole month away right now. So whenever you're looking at, the split, it could keep coming down for like a few days, maybe come back down to support around 700 or maybe down to around like 650 and then start flying back up into the split. Who knows? I mean, a lot of people are saying the split is also already priced in. And I would think that this move that we've been having is definitely because of the split news, but we'll have to see if that move can kind of continue because I'm with you. I think we might see some consolidation, especially over the next few days.
Sounds great. Well, let's get right into our $14.6 million trade for this Friday. We are looking at the Nvidia 800 strike calls that expire June 25th. And I think this just goes to show, or just to kind of confirm my belief that Nvidia is a little bit overbought, you can say. These are the 800 strike calls. So these options are about $55 out of the money. They're also weekly options. So I really think the smart money behind this trade are either selling these selling these as covered calls, or just like selling them as naked calls. They're pretty far out of the money. Nvidia looks overextended, and then they're also
Yeah, and I
weeklies.
think that's really smart. They're doing it like right at that 800 strike as well. And I think Nvidia is going to have a lot of problems trying to break through 800. So I think that's really smart what they're doing. And I would think I'm with you for sure that it's definitely either covered calls or they were selling the calls. If they were just straight up buying these naked calls, it would be a very gutsy move. And so I definitely would think that they were shorting them.
For sure. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of the company for the long term. Just a little bit overextended in my opinion. But now let's get right into the questions from the previous episode. And with the first question we have, I'm Fierce saying, great episode, guys. Thoughts on TTD after the split? So let's check it out. TTD, it had a decent past couple weeks. It struggled a little bit on Friday. They have a pretty big support at $60. And then the next major resistance is at like 70, you can say.
Yeah, the split actually just happened, I think, with it. And man, it was yeah, it actually just happened and it looks like it ran up a little bit. Personally, I would be more of neutral on it. It seems like a decent setup though. For the longer run, I think it'll be pretty good. It is pretty far off of those highs, but just keep in mind that with the split, the chart is going to be looking a little bit different than it obviously looked a few days ago before that happened. But I think that it's pretty good for the longer run. And the split just goes to show that they actually are a pretty decent company. And like we've seen Apple split, Tesla split, and a lot of those companies split, and then they like to like run up over the next few years. So I think it's more of like a longer term play, but I honestly like it. I think for the longer run, it'll be a pretty good stock.
Alrighty, and then we have David saying, I have about 5% of my portfolio in uranium, Dogecoin. Any advice on any other stock that can help grow my portfolio? So, of course, always do your own due diligence. Personally, I really like DraftKings. I also like Zoom, Enphase, Redfin, NIO. Those are some of my favorite stocks. But of course, always make sure to do your own research. Tom, do you have any thoughts or any input on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also liking another one called RUN. Definitely put your attention there. I think it has had a lot of volume the past couple days and looks like it's starting to really look like it's like running up and maybe recovering up. It almost looks like an end phase setup or something like that. So that's one of the ones I've been watching as well. Also watching AMD pretty hard. They just had that deal with Google and looks like they're starting to run back up. We'll have to see how the overall market ends up moving because that could drag AMD down a little bit. The SPY on a daily level starting to really sell off. So I'm being a little careful with some of these, but I really like RUN and like Mike said, Zoom, Palantir, and some of those that are down there at those like lower levels right now. I think those are really good options.
All right, and then we have Hunter talking about AMD. So I know you just brought it up, and Hunter said AMD was so nice on that breakout, and it really was. Plus that Google news too. Like I just think like the market's a little weird right now because we have like especially value stocks selling off pretty hard, and then like the QQQ, like you could say tech stocks, they're close to it like the all-time high, but at the same time like there's even some selling pressure there. So I think it's just like it's a weird market to trade right now because like the momentum is just like it's just like I don't know, it's weird and it's like not too strong. So I don't know if you have any input on this, Tom, or like any levels on AMD or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean AMD, I think it's just going to be all about the overall movement of the market, like the overall momentum. I think that's going to be the main thing to look at with AMD. Obviously they had that Google news, which is awesome, but they ended up popping quite a bit. They could end up pulling back, if the QQQ or something starts to really fall off. So I think that's just going to be what we end up having to look at. But I think that whenever we're looking like AMD moving forward, there's a pretty big resistance around like $85, somewhere between like 85 and 85.77, which was the high of Friday. Somewhere between there, there's definitely some good support slash resistance. So look out for like whenever we're moving up to that next week. But on the daily, honestly, it seems like it's a pretty straight shot up to like 88 to maybe $90. There's a pretty big resistance there around that $90 area. Seems like it's a pretty straight shot up to there. But like I said, I think the overall market is going to make a bigger difference. And like whenever we go look at like the QQQ, it is holding its ground pretty well, like you said, Mike. But on an intraday setup, it still looks pretty bearish. And whenever we go look at like the SPY and the Dow, those just really sold off, like looking very bearish. And even on like the 1 year daily, the SPY is starting to look really bad, falling down pretty hard. And the DIA is falling off even harder. And I would kind of expect the QQQ to honestly start falling off a little bit, once, especially like once these tech stocks maybe catch up, to the downfall or something like that. But as long as it can like hold its ground, it might hold. I mean, it's just going to be one of those weird scenarios, but just looking at the intraday setup here on like the 5 minute chart, it's like right along that like 342 to 340 support area. And I think if we start to really fall off below that, it's just going to be a pretty bad overall like next couple of weeks. And I think that just has to do like with Powell's comments and everything like that.
Alrighty, and then we have Luck saying BB calls with then the two rocket emojis. So what are we thinking, Tom? It looks like they have earnings pretty soon. They were popping up pretty well, like you could say in the beginning of June. They're pulling back a little bit right now. IV is still elevated. I mean, it's not horrible. It's like kind of like bottoming out near that like 1250 support, which I think looks good. It's just it's definitely a risky play. One, because it's a hype stock, but then also two, they have
Yeah,
earnings.
those earnings are pretty scary actually. And who knows, like GameStop, I think I remember GameStop tanking on their earnings a couple weeks ago. And I would not be surprised if Blackberry had like a similar situation, but who knows? It is on that support, like you said, Mike. And that support seems like it's holding up pretty well. So as long as it can hold that 1250 support, I think it'll be pretty decent.
Alrighty, well, Tom, do you have any last minute like input, ideas, anything for this week? I know we have a lot going on in the market.
Yeah, keep in mind, guys, that there's a lot of stuff going on right now with commodities and the dollar. Like whenever we go look at like the dollar sign DXY, which is the dollar index, we talked about this a little bit last week, but there's honestly some pretty good setups going on here, like with the dollar. And the dollar's kind of holding like some of these like bottom trend lines to bottom supports pretty well. And I think that like looking at the dollar on a daily level, it looks like that this could start to really pop back up here and really gain some value. And take this for like whatever you want, but I know that Trump was trying to kind of like hurt the value of the dollar. He said that that would help him help negotiations and trade and different things like that. And apparently Democrats and them, they like to raise the dollar. And so while Biden's in, we might see the dollar going up. And I'm not getting political or anything here, but just keep in mind that while the dollar starts to fly up, sometimes that can hurt the overall market. And then also that's going to hurt the commodities. Like we're seeing GLD start to really fly down here, slash CL, which is crude oil, is kind of holding its ground, but looking like it's kind of starting to hit a top up here, around like $73. They had a pretty bad red day last week. And we're just seeing a lot of these commodities, even like lumber, start to really sell off here. And it's pretty good, honestly, to see some of these inflated things start to come back down. But just keep in mind that I think the dollar is going to have a big impact on the market as it starts to go up. And whether that's in a good way or a bad way, we're definitely going to be seeing it affecting it quite a bit.
All right, and if you guys are like, how do I trade the dollar? That's an index. Use UUP. That is the ETF for the dollar. So check it out, UUP. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you want to trade with Tom and I every single day, plus get access to our bots, day trading, swing trading, order flow, you name it, we probably have it. It's the first link in the description down below, and you'll also save about 40 bucks. We are running a coupon right now. And if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We post brand new videos every single day. But other than that, thanks for watching.